Hi everyone, it's JP from the Whose Turn Is It Anyway podcast, and firstly, thank you for coming back and listening to some of our earlier episodes. We really want to welcome you here. I do have to put out a disclaimer though that our audio quality on some of our earlier episodes is, well, it's a bit crap. It's just not up to scratch due to being noobs and messing up and basically getting microphone settings wrong, which you'll hear all about in episode 4. We've made the decision to keep these episodes in our list for continuity purposes, and it's important to remind ourselves how we started, but if the quality does put you off, don't worry, it's all good. Feel free to jump straight to episode 4 where it gets a lot better, and we'd love to have you join us and listen in. Thanks again, and more importantly, welcome to the group.
We are back again for another dose of board gaming podcast chat, and this is, of course, Whose Turn Is It Anyway? And welcome to the show. I'm JP, your current first player, and I'm joined by Kerley and a couple of new players, Adrian and Davey, to talk all about Nemesis, published by Awaken Realms. Welcome to the show, gents.
Hello very much.
Thanks for having us.
You're here. You two.
Real. Yeah.
Finally.
We're real.
You're real.
Yeah, we're in person.
So, Adrian, we're going to go to you first, and we always ask the same questions for our new players joining the podcast, which is, how did you get in the hobby? And what's your favourite game? And what game are you enjoying right now, which might not be your favourite? So over to you, mate.
Yeah, so I got in the hobby. I played a lot of chess at school.
Love chess.
Played it competitively, like county and stuff like that occasionally as well. Really enjoyed that. I played a little bit of Warhammer as well during school. Got to university, everyone sort of that I sort of made friends with was playing Magic the Gathering, D&D, Warhammer, so kind of went down those routes. And then around, I was trying to work it out because you guys were all talking about 2017, 2016,
yeah.
Because mine was 2009.
Old school.
Yeah, old school. I got into it with some of the group that I was playing Warhammer with. They were playing sort of newer games, so it was quite an exciting time, I think. She had like Dominion, which was the first ever like big deck builder. Had Pandemic, which was doing something new for co-op. And then sort of a couple of years later as well, you had Risk Legacy. The first ever Legacy came out. Battlestar Galactica was around at that time as well. Zombicide was kind of the new hotness. So all of that came out about that time. Then I sort of moved away from board games for a little bit, and I went heavy into tabletop wargaming. Played about 14 or 15 different systems of tabletop wargaming, like had just cases and cases of that. And then just before the pandemic hit, the actual one, not the board game, I got back into board gaming big time. And then while we were all in lockdown, I spent far too much money and built up a massive collection of board games. And then last November, you put out a Facebook post saying, looking for more gamers for the group. And that's it. I'm the new kid on the block.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good segue into our last episode, because we were talking about how we set up the gaming group and kind of given our hints and tips of how we do it. And we mentioned the Board Game Trading and Chat UK Facebook group. Yeah. That's exactly how we kind of did a call. I think I used the Anchorman GIF post of him with his conch shell calling for aid, and Adrian responded, and here he is, which is brilliant, right? Because it means we're growing the group and getting more like-minded people. So, no, welcome to the group, mate. Even though we've said this already, but publicly, welcome to the group.
Thank you very much.
It's on recording now.
yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
It's nice to get someone out of it, because it was just when I mentioned it to you, didn't I, about possibly needing a new gamer for certain types of games we got. Could you said one more person?
You said you're sick of the current group. So
yeah, they said, especially that Davey. We need to try and replace it if we can. But no, I just mentioned it, and then JP put it out, and it's great because we actually got a couple of gamers that come every now and again. But it's great that Adrian's around because he's actually turning up like quite
regularly.
Yeah.
So favourite games then?
So I think favourite games is a really tough one. I've got a couple of evergreens. So I've mentioned them already, Dominion and Pandemic. It doesn't matter how, since I was first introduced to them way back when, every time they come up as an option, I'm always quite excited to play them. I've got quite a few different versions of Pandemic. I've got a few expansions of Dominion, and I always enjoy playing them. I think they're my evergreen games. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily always the top of my list, but always happy to bring them out, always happy to play them. They're just really, I think they're simple-ish, sort of those Euro games. They're quite simple, but each game is very different, and I think it's that comfort thing as well of, I know how to play it. A lot of people know how to play Dominion and know how to play Pandemic, or it's really easy to teach, and you can get it to the table quite a bit. So, they're my two evergreens. And what am I playing at the moment? Playing a lot of Marvel Champions.
Love it.
Yeah, I think, as I say, again, different group mostly for when I'm playing with Marvel Champions, but really enjoying that. Got most of the heroes and villains and all the big packs. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition has really sort of re-highlighted why I like Terraforming Mars. I know we've talked about this before off the podcast. I find the base slightly too long and maybe a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition really sorts all that out. The time can be like half the time. And the engine and all the bits I like about Terraforming Mars are still in the game. So that's seen a lot of playtime for me. And I've mentioned it loads getting off the podcast, but It's a Wonderful World was my most sort of most games I taught to people last year. It's a fantastic game. It's that card drafting, engine building. I call it the 7 Wonders Slayer because I think it wipes 7 Wonders off the table for me. A really strong game that I'm getting to the table a lot at the moment.
Nice, yeah. We have to get that to the table. I know you're setting up an event soon, aren't you? So hopefully we'll all get to sample that one. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
But yeah, well, welcome to the show, Adrian. Let's switch over to you, Davey. Let's learn all about you.
Me.
Who are you?
So I don't know what to call myself now because my name's James.
That is true, but we all call you Davey.
We all call me Davey, so that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll roll with that. So I got into the hobby via my family, which are heavy gamers. From when I was little, my mum and that side were always playing Boggle, card games. Go for Broke was the board game that hit the table most.
I love that game.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's like the opposite of Monopoly, where you got to lose all your
Lose
money.
$1 million.
So it's 10 times more fun, really. So yeah, that was kind of my slight introduction into it. And then as I started getting a bit older, played Warhammer, a lot of Magic. TCGs are still a bit of a sore spot for me, really. I spend way too much on them.
Like crap.
They burn holes in your pockets. And then kind of when had a big gap when I was in teenage years, too much partying.
We also said the same thing. We've got to. We didn't say teenage. We said 20s because we'd like to make us sound like we were a bit older before we got into that. But you're probably right. Yeah.
Well,
we discovered
you're still in your
drinking
teens till what?
Until 39, I think.
39. Yeah, mentally, yeah. But and then got back into board gaming via Mansions of Madness and played the first edition.
Yep.
And that was horrible. Setting up, it took so long to play, and when eventually we got it to the table, it was awful. But it awoke something in me. I thought, modern games are actually getting like a lot more in depth. There's a lot more mechanics to this than what I'm used to with previous board games.
Yeah.
So we started going through it all, and we found Cosmic Encounters, which is an old board game. Me saying modern board games are more depth, but it's just it had a bit more flair to it, I think, with the modern one.
It surprised me how.
So doesn't it?
But that's it. But
it surprised me how old it is.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I looked out.
When you told me how old it was, I was surprised it was as good as it was.
Yeah, and it was more just it was fun, wasn't it? And it's quite good in a big number, which certain board games are. And then as a group, we started playing all types of board games, really, and non-board games as such. Perudo, which is just a bit of a bluffing game. Lies dice, yeah. And then I had another big gap after that, and that's when I think I got in touch with you, Kerley, when I moved back to Taunton. Yeah. It kind of escalated from there. Cool. We did have a stint of where we were playing probably 4 games a week. We had to go, guys.
Let's have a with ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
I mentioned that last time on the episode, going, I have to calm down now because I've got a family and a life. And as much as it was fun,
games are life.
I know.
I'll see you, wife, a week next Tuesday. That's the next time I'm free, I'm afraid.
It's when you get comments like, when are we seeing each other again soon? You live with them?
Yeah, I went full canon towards war games. So I also play war games, TCGs, board games, computer games, anything that's got game in it, I am heavily invested in. I love mechanics. As long as it's got some tight-knit combo mechanics or something where I can build on
an engine. You love an engine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Cool. So what's your favourite game then, mate?
So my favourite game is probably Terraforming Mars. As I said, I love an engine. And for that, the replayability was like no other game we kind of had played before. And I think when I looked at it, first of all, I thought, this game looks awful. The theme of it, what the hell is this? And we've pimped out the game since then. Riser for me is Ark Nova, very similar to Terraforming Mars, and Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Yeah.
Mainly just the amount of times I've got it to the table. And people are always willing to play it. It's kind of got a easy entry level, but also has the depth for people that want to play it. And then it still seems to be balanced, which is quite a hard thing to do.
Who doesn't want to be Indiana Jones?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Studied archaeology, if that helps me towards it. Yeah, it's definitely a game that I want to play.
Do you have a whip in your room as well? Not like that.
I actually do.
More than I want to know.
But it is with a fedora hat.
Oh, nice.
Because it's Indiana Jones, not because I'm kinky. Well,
he wants the whip to be morally acceptable in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So he puts a fedora next.
Yeah, it's the Holy Grail that's the bit off-putting as well. Yeah,
you chose poorly. Great stuff. Well, again, welcome to the show. Yeah, welcome back, Kerley, as well. I'm not going to give you as much for the intro because everyone's heard your story.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
He likes to beat people.
He likes to beat, but no, he likes to beat efficiency. So I think it's time to talk about what's hit the table. Let's talk about Hex. So literally, what has got to the table? What's been good? What's been not so good? What have we enjoyed? What haven't we enjoyed? I'm going to go to you, Adrian, first.
A game that actually has hexes in it. It sets it up very nicely. Eclipse Second Dawn, we played a little while back. It's my first playthrough of it.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I really loved it. I thought the building of the ships was fantastic. I really like the exploration. I do like TI4, Twilight Imperium 4. One of my gripes is that I always find that it's just big combats pushed into each other in like the last round. And ironically, that's how our game ended. But if I'd actually played it sensibly, it wouldn't have been. It would have been little skirmishes at the side. I just wanted to see what my stupidly missiled up ships would do in a big combat, so I just pushed them all towards the giant cosmic Satsuma in the middle.
Space Orange.
Space Orange.
You call it. Yeah. It was a good, epic little game, that, and yeah, you said this is not the most efficient thing for me to do, but this is the most fun thing to do.
Yeah, it was great fun.
It was.
Yeah, it has that sort of slightly Euro-y feel of moving your little discs, your lozenges, to the end, and then having to pay the cost of doing that. And it really gave me a bit more of the space exploration stuff that I was looking for maybe in Twilight Imperium, that I don't feel like I got from that as much.
No.
They look similar theme-wise, but they're very different.
They
couldn't be any different, could they?
Yeah. I do find Eclipse more punishing, though. For a mistake, it can really punish you.
I find Eclipse a little bit more RNG in the way of when you explore, it's a great mechanic, but it does suffer a little bit from you can pull bad tile after bad tile.
Oh,
it feels like
Eclipse, I pulled 3 bad tiles on the trot, didn't I, in the game we just played?
You're the first person that I've seen that actually said, I'll do the Explorer action, look at the tile and went, I don't want that.
Yeah, I
which then you think
3 times in a row.
That's really inefficient because I'm not getting anything. But actually, it paid off in the end.
In the end, it kind of pulled itself around. But it's fantastic. Got to see a great range of ships of the different. Obviously, when you look at reviews, one of the big parts they talk about is you have to build your own ships up and do your own research. And you kind of go, okay, well, how big a part of it is it of that
That's my
game?
favourite part.
And it is massive. And it was great to see. I've got like loads of cloaking devices. I've got loads of computers. I've got loads of hull points basically on my ships. And so I just went massive missiles and sentient hull or whatever it was called. It gave me a bit of hull and a bit of aiming.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed it.
And we had that.
I think that's one of the strongest points of that game is the research and building your ships up and having that aspect of it.
Yeah, the blueprints, messing around with your blueprints is definitely just fun, and the fact you can be so versatile. Like one day I'm going to do some glass cannons, which is exactly what you did. Like these missiles on the interceptors.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm going to build tanky things that can just take hits, but I'm still got the crappy yellow dice. I'm just hoping I will roll that hit over 17 rounds of combat. So yeah, it's brilliant. Cool. That's Eclipse. Let's get on to the next game. So I'll kick this one in. Dune Imperium. We got that back to the table with the Rise of X expansion, which was great fun. Great fun. Really, really enjoyed that. Davey, you were on that game as well.
Yeah, I love that game.
We had a 3-player, managed to get a couple of games in succession, which I always like doing, right? Just get a game in, play it, do another one.
It's one of the few games that's short, but really deep.
It's not too short, though. You know,
it's not too short. Well, it doesn't feel short because you've got that depth there, and it's kind of got the complexity that you want.
It hits a rare sweet spot. The timing, complexity, and everything. It's one of my favourite games, along with Art Nova in the last, God, I don't even know how long. 2 years, probably 3 years.
Yeah.
Dune has really stood out, and Art Nova's really stood out. Starting to miss some of this.
Just getting the expansion, which is you know what I'm like with expansions. I love them. I want to collect them all. But actually, I kind of like what this does. It's
subtle, isn't it?
It's a subtle way, but you got the overlay board. It changes some of the Landsgrad Council spaces at the top. You kind of shrinks them and actually introduces this shipping track where you kind of push yourself up the track, and then at some point you can pull your disc back and get all the benefits that are on that track. So obviously, the more you invest in it, the more you're going to get from it.
It's kind of slightly like a gamble thing because you have to invest that efficiency to maybe get something later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, because there was a slight criticism saying that there wasn't enough from this expansion, but I think it did just the right amount. It wasn't too much. I wouldn't play the game without it.
No, personally, I wouldn't. I think it adds enough to tweak it into just being more enjoyable, and the fact that now you've got dreadnoughts, which are another unit type you kind of put into the conflict that have like a strength 3, unless you play that faction at a strength 4.
Amazing.
And they can never die. And that just switches up the conflicts loads. And now we're getting combat power of 20 plus very easily.
Yeah.
So actually, some of the battles are a hell of a lot more tense. You think, God,
it was a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Before, sometimes you had one person that would always run away with it, and now there was always a slight conflict of, who's going to win this?
Yeah.
Who's got the cards? Because I also find you're cycling through the not Destiny. What's the
Intrigue?
The Intrigue deck a lot quicker as well, which means you're seeing a lot more of those combat cards, which means you're seeing a lot more quick, like split decision changes in who's winning. And it was.
I mean, the first game we played. Tight. Well, the first game we played, Dave, is that you accelerated like from the start.
I thought I'd
won. He was on 6 VPs.
Depressing. I thought I'd won.
He was on 6 VPs. I was on 2. Or Tambo didn't even get off the starting blocks. But by the end of it, we were all at. It was 9, 10, and I just...
You had won by 1 VP. Tambo was... Didn't you have a draw in the end?
Yeah.
It was... Well, me and you draw.
No, we drew and I won on Spice.
Yes.
Number of Spice.
Yeah, and Tambo was 1 VP behind, so that's how tight the end game was.
So it just kind of all came together. But no, what I really like about it is the X board, which adds all the techs that you can buy. You can use Spice to buy the tech technologies, and that kind of then gives you a little engine that you can kind of configure and build. It kind of reminds you of the Eclipse ships, but I'll have a bit of that which will give me combat better. I'll have a bit of that which will allow me to get agents or infiltrate or whatever. You can kind of configure like 2 or 3 techs off that board to really lean into your play style a little bit, and that was just really good fun.
Sounds really interesting because I've only played the base one, right? And having your little person that gives you a little bit of power is a difference is great, but it's not really asymmetry in that respect. Like there's a little bit of, I get this a bit more than somebody else, but it's not massive asymmetry in that respect. No. And the ability to build asymmetry as you go in a game, having that little bit of starter and then the ability to really build it, not only in your deck, but then on a tableau as such, sounds really interesting. I'd be interested to give that one a try.
Definitely.
I just really like the balance in that game. I feel like every game we've played has always been close.
It's always been a tight knife fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, moving on then. I've been really enjoying Cantaloop. book 2, which some of you might not know what the hell I'm talking about, but
Absolutely no idea.
Cantaloop is.
Okay, JP.
It's yeah. I'm fine. Just got a bit of a Cantaloop going on. No,
man, melon.
Cantaloop is basically, if you remember in the 90s, point and click adventures, Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle, Indiana Jones and the Fable Lanterns or whatever, all the different kind of point and click games that LucasArts that did with that wacky comedy and kind of strangeness that's going on. Like, you've got to pick up an item of a rubber chicken and use it to swing over and do this. Yeah, all of that like wackiness. They're now brought out a book called Cantaloop, which is based around this petty criminal called Hook, and you are trying to break someone out of prison on the first book anyway, in order to kind of do this big revenge plot against someone that's wronged him in the past. But it's all done in this really humorous way, and he's cracking these really like dad jokes all the time. But mechanically, how this book works is you've got this postcard, you can kind of move around to the different scenes, you're picking up items, and then these are cards with codes on, and you can kind of put them on the pages, and then it will give you like little scenes that might trigger off or interact, combining items, all that kind of stuff. It shouldn't work. Like, as I'm explaining this, you probably think he's got mad. He's playing with cards. And,
it's like pick your own adventure, but it's kind of expanded upon.
Get yourself a coffee and sit yourself down on a Sunday afternoon and just start going through that book. And you just lost like 3 hours, and you're trying to crack through these like puzzles and go, what's going on? Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's a beautiful little random thing.
I think that's the biggest difference between me and you. You love your solos. I really don't think I can get into a solo game.
I have borrowed it off of you, but I've been planning to play it with Gemma, my girlfriend.
Yes,
because I think that'll be something we can enjoy.
Yeah,
she's not a heavy gamer.
No,
I am intrigued by it. But
it's one of those things. It's like you see it and you sat on your shelf and you're like, I've got to start this. And then when you actually sit down and you start it, then it gets you. And all you're thinking about is the puzzle, just like you did when you used to play Monkey Island. It's like, well, how do I get across this thing? How do I use this balloon thing that I've got?
Because I've played the Sherlock Holmes ones, which are kind of like, escape room-esque or, puzzle esque. But
there you go.
In the same ilk, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it, recommend it. I'll say I'm on book 2, just cracking back through it, really. It's just nice to be with old friends. So yeah, that's that.
By yourself?
Yeah, by myself, yeah. Drinking coffee. It's brilliant. But no, the kind of last thing that I'll just raise is, I mentioned this on the last episode, I got to play Anunnaki, Dawn of the Gods, which is kind of a brand new game that's coming to Kickstarter, funny enough, on my birthday next month. And yeah, managed to kind of get that to the table or play with Paul Grogan from Gaming Rules, which is great. And Anunnaki is it's basically a Euro game, but the theme of it is you all play as various different alien races that are themed after ancient gods. So you've got like an Egyptian style faction where you have.
I was not expecting that.
No, you have the Ra. You've got the Babylonian kind of style faction. You've got the Norse with Odin, and you've got the
so ancient history. Space, Euro game.
Yeah,
this might as well have been designed for me.
You're going to love it. You are going to love it.
Theming wise, this is going to be like.
I think this is right up your wheelhouse, mate.
Yeah,
this is great.
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah, watch your wheelhouse. It's going right up there. But no, it's essentially you're all like aliens from your own worlds, and your home planets are dying. So you need to kind of go to Gaia, which is Earth, in the center, and try to establish dominance. So it looks like a dudes on a map game where you've got the different workers and followers and things, and you've kind of got these big circles where you've got your planets and the main kind of Earth planet in the middle. And yeah, what I really enjoyed about it actually wasn't the theme or the kind of the way it played per se, is the action selection mechanism is fantastic in this game. So if you can imagine like a pentagram kind of star with a kind of circle around it, you've got 10 spaces on this star with different actions that are these tiles. And it kind of reminds me of Scythe in the way that you're moving around and you can't kind of do the one that you've just done. But you can either move to like the one next to the action selection, and you can put a cube in the slot and you can get crystals and things like that. Or you can go anywhere you like, but you don't obviously get that bonus. So you're trying to work out this like efficiency puzzle of moving my kind of action selection token in the right way getting the right things, and if you surround the triangles that are on their outside, you get to unlock your like lesser gods, and that starts to give you abilities and powers. And if you do the one in the middle, that unlocks the main god, and then he comes onto the board, and you can start doing some fun things.
It's like he's doing like a job application form where it's like use the trigger words to like hook them in.
Yeah.
He's using like ancient gods. You know, I was obsessed with ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient gods, and now you've started talking about efficiency.
Oh,
It's like, well,
it breaks your brain.
Puzzle as well.
You got the job, JP.
It's I really enjoyed it.
Paying you for this?
No, nothing. We're not on any commission. We're a ramshackle bunch of people just talking about games. And no, I honestly really enjoyed it. I thought there's a lot of legs in it and a lot of variability. And
can't wait till you bring it to the table.
Well, I'm not saying I'm going to get it.
Happy birthday, JP.
I'm not saying I'm going to get it, but check it out. The last one that we recently got to the table was Nemesis, but I think that's a good segue into our main event, right?
Yeah.
So, the main event today is to talk about Nemesis. So, as I say, Nemesis is published by Awaken Realms, and I wanted to kind of have an episode directly on this game because of the fact that it's just kind of exploded. I think it's probably the right word, into kind of, exploded into my collection because it's one of the many Kickstarters that I've got and that are coming on down the road. But I think it's just been hitting the table lots, and I think most of the people that played it are really enjoying it. And this isn't a review. I think the fact that we're talking about it kind of shows you that we like it. Unless someone's going to contradict me in a minute, which we haven't planned for.
It's just a good talking point, isn't it? There's a lot of kind of it drips theme. So we've always got good stories to tell about it. So
I don't think I've played a game that creates stories as well as this.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. So we thought, well, why don't we just have a chat around it? For those that haven't heard of Nemesis or have ever played it, maybe this will convince you to give it a go, check it out, have a look, or find someone who's got a copy because it's not the cheapest, let's face it, and go and get in on some games. But I think for those who haven't played, I'll just kind of set the scene, the premise, the theme, because it is dripping in theme. It is, I think, the most thematic game I've ever played.
Got alien music in the background, isn't it?
Yeah, Fade to Black, spaceship off slowly crawling onto screen. But no, it's essentially the Nemesis is a spaceship that's on a voyage for collecting minerals or some other reason that I can't remember from the rule book. And the crew is all in cryo sleep, and essentially they wake up and realise that one of their crewmates is dead in the hibernatarium, which is the room where you all kind of start and wake up. And everyone, because they've been in cryo sleep, everyone kind of forgets or where the rooms are in the ship. That's the explanation. I love this. But they always remember the engines are at the back and the cockpits at the front, because obviously that's where they will be. But every other room is kind of a bit hazy as you kind of get to grips. And obviously there's a dead guy or dead girl in the room. Everyone's a bit, what the hell's going on? The ship's on its arse, basically. I think that's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, it's never easy, is it?
It's never easy. It's on its arse. Things are creaking. Nothing's quite working as it should. Noises everywhere. And lo and behold, it doesn't take long for the nasty little shits to turn up and start causing havoc, which are these intruders, which are basically a blatant, I'd say, rip-off. Probably a rip-off from Aliens.
Clever design.
I think certainly the base game.
Yeah, I'll talk about the base game. Yeah,
exactly.
But you know what? I think if they did an Alien licensed version of that game, I still would probably prefer Nemesis in a weird way. I think what they've done with it is absolutely fantastic. But one of the things I really like how they thematically explain some of the concepts of the rules, where your characters have got these like chips in their brains that prevent them from actively harming the other crewmates, which just means that you can't directly attack people in this game. But you can indirectly attack them.
You will play
There's some really nice grenades out there that can do some extra damage to people in other rooms.
Yeah.
Never give Adrian a grenade.
No.
That's my
Or Chris.
or Chris. Yeah.
He's a bit nasty with it.
He wasn't even bad, I don't think, was he?
No, he was.
He was in the end, was he?
Yeah. So that's kind of the theme, and you wander around the ship, you kind of explore and you're doing things. Intruders are popping out left, right, and centre. It's inevitable that someone's going to croak it and die, and this game does have player elimination in it, which normally would turn people right off. But I think for me, I quite like that it's in there. which is a weird thing for me to say because I think player elimination is a crappy mechanism in most board games.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
an
quite
important
like
part
it.
of that theming. The fact that you can die is an important part of it. And it makes you think a bit more carefully about stuff.
Yeah, it adds that extra edge. Like most people, I don't particularly like player elimination.
No.
I think the way that they dealt with it here is kind of nice and kind of problematic in the fact that if you die from an alien, you get to control the aliens, which can feel a little bit double-edged because the people you were working with a second ago potentially really working hard to see them all snuff it, and it can feel a bit mean on that front, but it certainly increases that tension of I've had 2, so what, you pass away when you've had 3 serious wounds, you snuff it?
Yeah, you have 3 serious wounds and any extra wound that you take light or serious, you are dead.
So when you're on 2 serious wounds and you're going down that tracker that tells you when you next get your big serious wound, it feels tense.
Yeah.
Feels really tense.
Yeah.
So we must disagree on this one, Adrian, because I would absolutely love wiping you guys off. it would be a deep joy.
That doesn't surprise me. You've not played as the aliens yet.
You're telling me you wouldn't enjoy it.
Depends how I died.
It's how he died and who did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Payback time.
But I think the important thing I probably haven't mentioned is that, as the characters on this ship, you've all got these objectives. So one's a personal objective that you're trying to do, and one's a corporate objective. And obviously the corporation is bad because all corporations are evil in the future and probably now, but let's not go there. And the first time one of these little buggers shows up, you've got to select one. And that really is a hard choice because it doesn't take long for one of the little buggers to show up. And you've got to make this tough choice, and then whatever you make, you're stuck with it. And that really just shapes your arc and the story of the rest of the game. And that's it. I liken it to being in a film or playing in an interactive film, and the way it kind of pans out, because it does create stories. There's no narrative in the game whatsoever, nothing. It's all kind of done on your actions and the stories you tell around the table. It's funny as hell. There's always bad stuff happening to people. There's always the soldier who's armed to the teeth who just cannot roll a hit.
It feels immersive. That's what it does.
Yeah.
It feels immersive.
Yeah, I love it. It's just amazing fun.
For the most part, those mishmash of mechanics come together to create real tense moments where I've got to wait for that card to come back round again so I can reload or I can do whatever. That's not happening. I'd better just run away. And it creates those cinematic moments, I suppose, if you want to put it that way.
And a chance for your friends around the table to laugh at your misfortune as well whenever it happens.
It's interesting. You guys might know of other examples, right? It's the only game that I know of. Now, it reminds me of a hidden enemy style game, Battlestar Galactica, all of those type games. Mm-hmm. But it's not quite right. What it is a selfish get game.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. Yeah. So it's kind of a weird co-op in the fact that if you're definitely against each other, then you're not going to fix the ship to any point where no one's going to win, right? But it is a very selfish game. I find that mechanic so interesting, and that, for me, is the biggest impact on me.
Yeah, how many times has our ship survived?
Well,
usually someone's went for the escape pod. As soon as it's opened, it's there. And is that right?
Yes,
every escape has been free.
Absolutely go for the escape pod, and you just hope that you don't pull the wrong card.
That jettisons
the escape pod you were literally 2 steps away from.
After revealing yourself as being bad and chucking a grenade, suddenly the escape pod flies off and you're stuck there with all these people you just tried to kill.
He put all of his eggs in a basket that jettisoned himself into space.
Look, I was trying to be nice, so I had the objective to kill you, David.
Yeah, you did.
And I thought, look, they all look pretty doomed. If I just get in this escape pod, the aliens will do the job for me. I was captain, I don't have to be a mean captain or anything like that. I was trying to be nice, right?
My captain.
And then this pod had jettisoned, and it's suddenly like, right, let's go and grab the grenades and start chucking them at Davey and do this the hard way.
It was a bit like that earlier in that game where me and you were in the yellow room and we pulled an event that basically activated the airlock mechanism and shut me and you.
Yeah.
All the doors shut down. We were stuck in that room going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
So we had to luckily we had the demolition kind of cars to bust out.
Yeah.
But that could have been a very nasty end for 2 of the characters just going kind of blown off to space. Which, it was funny. But no, I think, like I say, the mechanics, I completely agree with you. It's a game I shouldn't like. on paper, I should not like this game.
I didn't back it. I've had 2 chances to back the game,
Yeah.
and I didn't back it either time because at the time I hadn't played it, and it said cinematic, which is normally like a exploration. It's not always for me. There's loads of decks, there's dice, there's randomization out the wazoo, and I was like, I don't think this is going to be a game for me. And I played it once, and I realised my mistake. But at that point, even the late pledge had closed on the lockdown Kickstarter.
That's what's great about JP. He
has it, right?
Yeah,
so we've got it from that point.
I actually did get my first complaint about Nemesis the last time we played it.
Okay. What was it?
The fact that I could have won on turn 1.
Because you pulled the right objective and did the right thing.
I pulled the right objective, which was someone else to survive with me, right?
Yeah.
And I pulled, really luckily, I'll grant you, it won't happen every game, but I did pull an item that allowed me to open an airlock early.
Yep.
And as soon as you pull that, then I could have won on turn 1. Now, that's worse than being eliminated, because I'm just going to, what am I going to do then?
Yeah.
I literally, within half an hour, I could have won, and I didn't. That was my only problem. And it was really RNT, but I really wish that card wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
But you're putting your objective to pure chance of other people winning or
but I could
surviving.
have taken someone else with me.
But no one would want to go with you if their objective wasn't.
Yeah, but it
satisfied.
was. Two people were near.
That was also lucky because of the signal room was right next to the
Hypnotarium.
So it's one of those where it was, I think, all the moons aligned.
Yeah, maybe. I just don't really see very much need for that one card.
Yes,
I think-
I do understand them.
I think this feeds into perhaps a bit of Nemesis that I'm a little bit cold on. Is there's a lot of randomness.
Yeah.
If you get the wrong objectives around the table, like you've kind of said, it can result in the game being over very quickly, one way or the other. And I do think that there was no buffer that they potentially could have put in that game to make sure it was a little bit more on rails, that it had a little bit more chance of not everyone wanting to go in completely separate directions. And it does make some games, but it also breaks some games. I think if you had that as your first game, where like 4 turns in, everyone's run off in a different direction because they want to kill each other or whatever it is that they want to do.
Selfish reasons.
I think it can really break that game, and I think that potentially someone who's playing it for the first time could have a bit of a rough experience with it and will just need a second.
It's like
a second attempt at it.
But I will say that after that tiny little tweak of criticism that I've just thrown in there, it is still, I want to say, in my top 3 games, probably of all time.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore the game. So it is such a small
it's fun.
criticism.
It doesn't matter if you
Great
win.
fun.
Doesn't matter if you
Exactly.
lose.
It is the most fun game to lose.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's just one of them mad games. I love it.
Yeah.
It's just great fun. So, yeah. Expansions. So, we've played with the Aftermath characters once. So, that's
Really
like the
enjoyed that.
Bounty Hunter and the CEO and the android.
Psychologist.
The
You were the
psychologist.
bounty hunter.
Yeah.
The dog. Like a.
Yeah. trying to
with
break the
purple character.
Yeah, that's it.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The scout
The
version.
convict we've had in. I think we had all the
we did.
the extra ones in. We just did a game with the extras on with the base game. We've not played the Aftermath epilogue mode because the ship never survives.
Yeah.
And it requires the ship to be alive or intact at least to do the epilogue mode. So we've not played it.
We'll probably have to do a card game just so the ship can survive.
We'll
Just
fudge
then
it.
do that
I
one,
reckon even if we tried, we'd struggle.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I do like what the extra characters adds in, and I think when we've been playing some of the other expansions, we purposely kept them out just because there's a bit of rules overhead just trying to learn these new alien kind of creatures and things. So, but yeah, I think moving forward, we'll definitely kind of throw them in and give people a choice because they're just great fun.
I think you would have enjoyed the psychologist if you enjoyed the captain, because that's the counterpart where I got to just make people move around wherever I wanted.
Yeah.
And
Was it Would You Kindly, wasn't it? It was a lovely
Would You
Bioshock
Kindly,
reference.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
It was good. I was hanging out with Tambo, who was the serial killer dude.
Convict,
And
he's in cuffs for most of the
I
game.
had keys,
That's it. Had some nice little interactions there. I think Tambo wanted me dead, but he just couldn't do it because I kept bossing him around. So it was just hanging around with him all game. Yeah, quite fun.
Yeah, so they're great fun. So yeah, that's we played through that. That's been good fun. The Carnomorphs we played, I don't know, last month, and I really enjoyed the Carnomorphs.
The Carnivals were good fun. There's bodies everywhere.
It was
it was
chaos.
that upgrading alien sort of thing, wasn't it? You kill a few and then the next bigger one comes in and then you kill a few of them, whereas like the intruders, the queen can turn up straight away. With the carnivores, it gives you that build up a bit more. I really enjoyed that idea of, okay, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's still a chance that big thing comes out quite early or much later or never at all, but it definitely had that build up, that escalation that I really enjoyed in the couple.
It's like a hill that slowly goes up rather than just having like a big boulder come down on top of you.
I also wouldn't use the word slowly, because those little critters like come crawling at you like 20 at a time, and you're just like trying to kill them all as best you can.
Starts off and you feel like, oh yeah, this is easy. I'm shooting everything, and then when you've got like 10 bodies in one room, you think, yeah, okay, this is escalating quite quickly.
Yeah, they have this mechanic where, like say, the start of these, I think they're called metagorges. They're like spidery things, and it's all like this virus. If you think of Dead Space, the video game, or any kind of viral infection that's kind of got on board the ship and is now reanimating corpses to do evil and nefarious things, it kind of reminds me of The Thing as well in the way that it works.
Prey,
and insert any sci-fi video game in here. But all these like spider things, you shoot them, it leaves a corpse on the floor, and then the other spider things eat the corpses or each other if they're there, and then they grow up and they get like to the next level.
Grow up and go off to university.
Yeah, go off. We become really proud of them. They come home and just scrounge all your money. But no, they kind of get bigger, as Adrian says, and then it gets out of control. It gets to the point where you're overrun, the butcher turns up, you're like, oh, crap. We've got to sort this out. By that time, the ship's on its arse, you're running away, get the pods, oh no, they've jettisoned. But I quite like the fact that it adds a different event deck, and obviously the intruder attack or carnivore attack deck. So it mixes it up a little bit.
More fire in that theme as well, because wasn't there something about them taking more fire damage as well?
Probably, I can't remember.
We might have been mixing two together.
Yeah, we might have unlocked that weakness, but I just really enjoyed it. This one I'd probably throw in, not every time, but just every now and then. I think
I must admit, I was on holiday randomly. I really wanted to go, and I must admit, I was a big guy.
We'll do another one.
I think, I definitely think if you're a big fan of it, it was definitely like a nice add-on that I thought it doesn't change the world, but it does give you a totally different flavour.
Well, once you love a game, it's just all about variation, right?
Yeah. We've got that in spades. Or two Kallaxes worth. So that's Carnivores, and then we played Void Seeders literally this week on Monday, didn't we? And again, it was good to get to the table. I didn't enjoy it as much as Carnivores, and I probably didn't enjoy it as much as the Intruders, if being honest. I still had fun. I still think it was quite a different experience. So the Void Seeders are like this. They start off with like 3 layers on the ship. They're all in the exploration token, so you don't quite know where the layers are, and these layers are like manifesting like mental horrors upon the crew.
More Lovecraftian, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is a bit more kind of leaning on that side. And they're causing panic, and you've got this kind of mental tracker that you kind of go up, and that determines what level of baddie kind of jumps onto the board. So the more kind of stressed you are, the worse things get for you when you're kind of spawning those void seers on the board. So yeah, it's an interesting mechanic. We did get a rule wrong. Let's put that out there. But
I think there was a couple, wasn't there?
It's a couple, and it did feel a bit easier. Because actually, it's the first time we've had multiple winners in the game.
Yeah.
I do genuinely feel that the 2 mistakes that were made
probably wouldn't have
make a difference, but I still think the expansion itself is easier.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe they felt like they needed to add something which had a bit less of a difficulty, because it is a very punishing game. And if you keep bashing your head against the wall, maybe you would start to not enjoy it. But
it's only punishing if you kill each other constantly. You realise that.
Probably something to say
about our group. Threw in a grenade.
That's the first time I've gone bad in the game of Nemesis, and I didn't complete my mission. So
once you go bad, you never go back.
Yeah.
There we go. So no, it was fun, and quite like the panic system in it. It caused some fun kind of little moments and stuff. But yeah, it probably wasn't enough carnage. I don't know. I expected more carnage.
That is the beauty of Nemesis, right?
Yeah,
is every story is completely different in that game because of what people pick out. So I think with the expansions, you could play them 3-4 times and you'd never have the same experience again, which is exactly the same as the base game. You could have 20-30 on the base game alone, at least.
I think it also it will really differ depending on what group you play with as well.
Oh, 100%.
What group?
It's a sandbox.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you put a load of kind of toys in the sandbox, see how it all kind of manifests itself. So
well, the first game I said to you guys, my other group is a lot more cooperative at Nemesis, and so normally get very close to lots of people completing, or like the ship only blows up with like a couple of turns left or something like that. Whereas every game we've played in this group, you're lucky if you get halfway through the turn timer before everyone's dead on the ship. And so I think that's another one of the positive points, isn't it? Is if you love the carnage, if you love that chaos, it does feed into that quite nicely. And if you like the cooperative or that sort of more cooperative bit, there is a way to do it. If your group is that way minded, they will pick the nicer objectives, and therefore you're more likely to get to the end, and you can kind of almost.
Well, there is a full co-op mode with the game.
Yeah,
I've heard. Yeah, I've not played it myself.
No, I've only played it solo, but if you don't want the conflict, if you don't want someone's going to backstab me, it's there.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice as well. Cool. Well, let's round up this conversation then. So the last kind of expansion is Nemesis Lockdown. I've not actually played, or none of us, I don't believe, have played it because we've not got it to the table. It's still nicely tucked away on my shelf, and I think it will absolutely get to the table at some point. But I kind of made a pledge with myself to finish off the other expansions, or at least get them out, play with them, see what it's all about. But for those that don't know what Nemesis Lockdown is, it's basically a standalone expansion. It's set on Mars, on a research facility. You have a whole new kind of alien race called the Night Stalkers, and I think they play very similar to the Intruders, but they mess around with a darkness mechanic. So on this base, you have limited power. You've got to kind of move it around to various different levels, where you've got a lift that can kind of take you up and down. And if you're in the dark, it's bad news. They like the dark. They like to kill you in the dark. If you're in the light, you get the advantages. You get the better combat die, not the crappy red one that you always curse at because you're always missing things, and other kind of benefits as well. We'll probably cover that later on another episode at some point once we've actually played it. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of reference that. People go, what about Lockdown? You've not mentioned Lockdown. So yeah, there we go. That's Nemesis. We love it. Check it out if you think any of this has been mildly amusing, entertaining, interesting. We'd recommend it, right, guys?
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for a quick question. So we've actually got a question from Rhiannon Hollins, who actually is in our gaming group. So that's another one. James, you did. It's the first time I call you James. That's weird. Davey. Weirdness. You actually gave the question to us last episode. So thanks for that. So Rhiannon says, is the store shop purchase board games from important to you, i.e. buying from a small retail versus a large online retailer? So thoughts, quick thoughts.
Well, my quick thought, it is fairly easy to go down the route of this one. It depends how big a difference it makes for the large part of it. I will say I lean towards supporting local game stores, and certainly I lean towards doing that mostly online, but local game stores from other areas, but looking for the best deals, going down that road. Honestly, if I would make any recommendation, it is not buy from Amazon, because the one game that I bought from them was the one fake I've ever had.
There was a point, maybe middle of last year, where you could get language independent games from Germany for a quarter of the price. All of mine turned up in great condition. I try and avoid Amazon actually for sort of political or social reasons, or whatever you want to put, there, as to all the issues that Amazon sort of have in that space. But when you're talking about the difference between a £40 game and a £10 game, because the back of the box is in German, that everything else is perfectly usable, it gets hard to justify the extra 30 quid out of my pocket at that point. So I always use, there's a website called boardgameprices.co.uk. That has a lot of, mostly, there's a couple of sort of bigger like Shop for All or 365 games that are sort of a bit more of just a general internet site that seems to cover several countries. But for the most part, they're little independent game stores around the country, and I'll find the best price I can there, and then I know I'm supporting someone's local game store, even if it's not my own.
For me, it was actually probably over lockdown. Obviously, I was buying online. We can't go into any stores, none are really open. For me,
to do it.
It's the physical experience as to why I'd probably buy in a local store. obviously it's to support them as well, and that feels good for them and me. It's the experience usually you get when you go like there. Usually they've got a couple of tables you can sit and play as well, and that's the kind of difference that and that's obviously why you're paying a bit extra, because it's that physical space.
Yeah.
So for me, I will generally buy online, but I will also buy in the shops, and that's usually when I'm going out for more of an event purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm going to ditto what you guys have just said. Boardgameprices.co.uk.
Yeah.
Check it on there. I do have my kind of favourite stores that I would gravitate towards. None of them are local to me. But yeah, Amazon I will tend to avoid, because apart from the scenario that you just said, Adrian, which makes perfect sense to me, but generally the other stores have a better price. Thank you, Rhiannon, for chucking that question in. I think if anyone's got any questions, we want your questions. We want to get them in on the podcast. And if you do have a question, we now have an email address, which is players@whosturn.co.uk. So if you've got any questions you want to send into the pod, just fire us an email and one of us will pick it up and we'll get it on the list. We do actually have a list. I'm not just saying we've got a list. We do have a list. So we've reached the penultimate turn, guys. Basically, we're going to talk about what we're excited about, what's coming up, what's floating your boat.
Well, I'll take this one because I've got 2 games coming up in the next, I want to say 5 days that I'm really excited to play.
Go on then. What is it?
So, I've had it for a few months since I went up to London, saw it, and went, yeah, that looks right up my alley. Is Unfathomable, which is tomorrow, which is a reskin of Battlestar Galactica games and mechanics, slightly different theming, and a tweak on the end game I'm given to understand.
Oh, really?
But I'm really looking forward to playing that. It's going to be really good fun. BSG, Battlestar Galactica, is one of my favourite games. So, I'm looking forward to getting on
I'm gutted I'm missing that.
I think it needed the reskin in my eyes, but some people love
I love Battlestar Galactica, I'll be honest. But, it's nice to have something a little bit new, a bit of variant, and to know that it can be built on in the future with, obviously the whole
expansion.
I was going to say, you can do expansions.
I don't really want to pay £500 for a board game. No.
But if no one's ever seen Battlestar Galactica board game, it's literally taken stills from the TV show and put them on the cards. So you get that 80s nostalgia, I guess. But for people that want it, for people that don't, then
the mechanics of the game is just like literally so amazing.
Yeah, the mechanics are solid.
But the other one, Civilization.
Yeah.
So this is the 2012, I think, version.
Yep.
Not New Dawn. There's many different versions, not the New Dawn one, but there are early ones as well. Civilization, but the big thing is, I played it a couple of times. The big thing is that it's got the 2 expansions.
Not an Italian expansion.
Not an Italian expansion. It was Spanish, actually.
Was it Spanish, was it?
I'd sent it back about 3 times. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But so I'm really looking forward to especially getting Wisdom and Warfare to the table, which is the expansion that changes the combat mechanic, which is my only gripe with the game.
We really enjoyed Civilization whenever we played it. It has a nice
It turns it from a 7.5 game to an 8.5 plus that.
Because that's the only bit we did think it was lacking in.
Exactly. So that is...
it's kind of like a complicated rock, paper, scissors, which it doesn't really need to be.
No. It felt like it took a lot of time, wasn't particularly satisfying.
We could have just rock, paper, scissors.
It would have been more fun.
Yeah, so for me, those are my 2 ones that are coming up, and I think, like I say, that one's Monday night, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
Fantastic. Okay.
Me, so TV show wise, rather than just of Moon Knight. Watched that last night.
Watched it last night,
I thought that was really good. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not that kind of person, but it was really good.
I loved it.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then the other one, I've got Warhammer tournament coming up, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Nice. My first tournament, so that'll be interesting.
You got your golden tape measure out?
I've got a golden tape measure, no, unfortunately not. I'll have to get one. Yeah.
Blinged up with
diamonds on it. For Christmas, I bought my brother a little leather tape measure. Like bling it up with like metal dice and stuff.
You'd be surprised at how many people come with all their blinged gear as well. You think, I've spent a lot on this hobby, and then people are like, I've spent even more. Look at this. Yeah, it's just like, oh, jeez.
When I moved house, I had a box, and it must have been for board game sort of things. It must have been that unfathomable sized box, right? It's quite a chunky big board game box, and it just had the word dice on it. And I remember the movers picking it up and looking at it and going, "Is it just dice?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's all my bling dice for all my different armies."
Roll the box.
Don't drop it.
You know
Why do
you've
you
got a problem when you've got a whole box dedicated to dice.
When they drop it and 1,000,000 sixes are rolled, you're like, what?
Did you see that? The accident on the motor?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone worked out the odds of
Yeah, I know.
what
It's
you
like
rolled.
18 billion for it.
Brilliant. What about you, Adrian?
I've not actually got a lot of board gaming planned in at this point. I've got a D&D session coming up before the next podcast recording that we've got. Looking forward to that. It's set in Theros, I think the name is, the Magic the Gathering kind of. It's Theros adjacent. It's not perfectly set in that world, but it's kind of around there.
Really quite good.
Really looking forward to it. Yeah. I'm playing an Aarakocra for those who care, which is like a little tiny bird that only lives to like the age of 15 or something like that. Wandering around his little bow. It's a load of fun. I'm quite enjoying that character at the moment.
You got your ticking time bomb of a character.
Oh yeah, if anyone touches me with aging or whatever it's called, I am done. That's
You're not
it.
playing a sorcerer, are you?
No.
World Magic might screw you.
So I've got that, and then the other one that's inside the group, I think that I'm really looking forward to is Crokinole.
Yeah.
I've not played Crokinole. I've not played many flicking dexterity games. I've played a load of stacking ones where you stack things on top of each other. I've got a few of those at home, and I've played a few others. But I've not really played much of a flicking game. And obviously, I think Shut Up and Sit Down did the world of good for Crokinole.
Oh, it boosted it. It's a bit of popularity, no end.
And
Ian.
Ian Witt. Yeah, I'll let you do the cheap plug afterwards. But it's been on my list for a little while. Certainly since Shut Up and Sit Down did their thing, it kind of took it from like, oh, that's something different to that looks really cool. I really want to play it. And we've got a couple of sessions of that coming up. And I can't wait to play because it gets hyped by everyone I've ever spoken to that's got involved in it.
Canadians rejoice. They've been selling out.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'll do the shameless plug now on behalf of our other player, Ian, because if he was here, he would do it, because it's all he talks about is Crokinole, isn't it? But yeah, he's organised the very first UK Crokinole Championship, which is held at the UK Games Expo, which is just amazing. He's got that venue. There are, 32?
Yeah.
32.
Although it can be expanded.
Yeah, 32 places. There are about 10 tickets left. Might be less now since this recording goes out. But yeah, they're potentially to expand to 64. So if you're interested in Crokinole, get a ticket if you're obviously there. If you're not interested in Crokinole, get a ticket because it's just great fun. Like I think the variety of players. I mean, I'm going to be playing in this tournament. I am crap. So yeah, you've got me to beat. I'll definitely probably be last, but I just think it's great fun.
So liken it to any other things, if you don't know what it is, it's similar to pool. It's that kind of dexterity game, but you're obviously using your fingers instead, and it's more like curling, I guess.
I was going to say, look like curling around a circle.
Curling on a table where you can play it, have a couple of beers or not if you don't drink, but it's a very relaxed kind of game.
You don't have the brooms.
No brooms. No, you have a very small broom that you have to,
But you have bliss powder. Anyway, we're getting too deep in it. But check it out.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes as well. Very quickly for me, I'm looking forward to Perseverance, which is hopefully going to be fulfilled very soon. I've just had the email from Spiral Galaxy, which means that it's getting close. So for those that don't know, Perseverance is one of Mind Clash's games, and it's a dice drafting worker placement style game set on an island which is infested by dinosaurs. So
nice, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I really like.
Placement's like the flavour of the month.
It's the way they do it, where you've got the dice pool, you roll it, you're taking the dice, they've all got obviously different faces on, you're putting it on certain spaces that will take those kind of dice faces and activating. But just the way actually this game comes with two games, it's got like episode 1 and episode 2, and it's designed to kind of span out over like generations of these people being on this island who have just marooned this mysterious island with dinosaurs. And then the second episode is like them, 10 weeks on. So they're stopped fighting the dinos that are invading their camps. They're now trying to explore the island, find out what's going on. So yeah, we made it again. Another episode in the bag. So thank you, Kerley, for
joining again. It's always nice to see your face.
Thank you very much.
And again, thanks Davey and or James.
We made
We made it, and Adrian
Yeah.
for coming along. Yeah, if you'd enjoyed the chat and everything else in between, and enjoyed the content, please give us a like, subscribe, and review. We're new on the blog. We would love any form of recognition and any comments that you can kind of do. We will absolutely take them. Yeah, you can get us on your favourite podcast player, and if you want to get in touch with us to ask us questions or engage with the show, we've actually got a few options now. We've got our brand new email, which is players@whoseturn.co.uk. You can check out our Facebook page, Whose Turn Is It Anyway Podcast, or our Instagram page @Whose Turn Podcast. Or if you want to watch some middle-aged guys mess around with TikTok, we're on @Whose Turn Is It Anyway on there. But we'll be back again in 2 weeks. So until then, whose turn is it?